Welcome to Mountain Strong. Today we are at Cambell Creek Estuary Park, which is a park in the southwestern part of the city of Anchorage, just along the ocean here. And I guess I don't know the definition of an estuary, but it must have something to do with water flowing, because even though we've had a couple days of fairly cold weather, of course before that there was some warm weather, you can see that the water is just flowing along here. There's pieces of ice inside, and just a really nice calm place, notwithstanding a pretty noisy plane that's flying over up there. But in any event, today we're going to be having a look at Psalm 24 together. Psalm 24, let's go ahead and read it. The earth is the Lord's, and the fullness thereof, the world and those who dwell therein. For he has founded it upon the seas, and established it upon the rivers. Who shall ascend to the hill of the Lord, and who shall stand in his holy place? He who has clean hands and a pure heart, who does not lift up his soul to what is false, and does not swear deceitfully. He will receive blessing from the Lord, and righteousness from the God of his salvation. Such is the generation of those who seek him, who seek the face of the God of Jacob. Lift up your heads, O gates, and be lifted up, O ancient doors, that the King of glory may come in. Who is this King of glory? The Lord, strong and mighty, the Lord, mighty in battle. Lift up your heads, O gates, and lift them up, O ancient doors, that the King of glory may come in. Who is this King of glory? The Lord of hosts. He is the King of glory. As I think about the words of this psalm, I am reminded of what we used to do when we took standardized tests in school. I'm sure you remember those questions on those standardized tests where you were forced to identify the one thing that was out of place in the list of answers. And that one thing that was out of place was the right answer, in that it was wrong in the list. And so you were being taught there to associate thoughts and associate concepts together. I remember at the time not realizing how valuable that was, but it actually is an incredible valuable thing both in life and in Bible study. I find that too often when people are studying the Bible, they tend to soundbite the Bible. They tend to lift verses out of context. They tend to take a passage of Scripture and they tend to apply it to their desires and their wishes, rather than trying to figure out whatever it was that the author was trying to say, not only with that statement, but with that statement in the broader context. What on earth is that? Just had to stop for a second, because as this ice is coming along here, it's actually like breaking into pieces. And this is just a pretty cool sight to behold. But anyway, where was I? Wow. As you were studying this psalm, you're forced to try to figure out what the association is between three very different sets of ideas. You have a set of ideas describing who God is. You have a set of ideas describing who can approach God, and a set of ideas describing God's approach. And you're saying, well, what is the relationship between those things? If I were someone who didn't believe in the inspiration of the Bible, I might say, well, this is a psalm that's just been cut and pasted together. And there are people who say that kind of thing. They say this psalm has just been cut and pasted together. These ideas don't have any relationship with each other. But I think that this psalm is designed to teach us the very same thing that those standardized tests were designed to teach us. It's designed to get us to think about what is the relationship with these ideas. So the initial reflection upon God in verses 1 and 2, the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. All right, so God owns the earth. Why does he own the earth? Because he's the one who created it, verse 2. All right, now if God is the one who created this earth, I better be a person who approaches this God properly. And so he asks the question in verse 3, who shall ascend the hill of the Lord? This is very similar actually to Psalm 15, where the psalmist asks, who's going to be able to dwell in the tent of the Lord? And it prompts the same kind of reflection. And so we ask the question, well, who's going to ascend the hill of the Lord? Who's going to stand in his holy place? Well, a description of that kind of person, a person in verse number 4 who has clean hands, a pure heart. In other words, a person who has done what is right with his hands and has done what is right with his motivations, his understandings. He has a pure heart. He does not lift up his soul to what is false. So he doesn't respond to lies, and he also doesn't tell lies. It says he does not swear deceitfully. That's the kind of person that's going to receive the blessing of the Lord, and that's the kind of person who is going to be declared righteous by God, verse number 5. And as he thinks about that, well, this isn't just about me, it's about a group, and so such is the generation of those who seek him. Everybody who is going to seek him has to be like this. And that's a valuable thought. But that thought prompts pause. Because as you think about the first set of information and the second set of information, you have to go, well, hold on a second. God owns the earth. He created the earth. Maybe if the only thing I'm thinking about is how I'm going to approach God, maybe I'm not thinking about this properly. Maybe instead I need to think about the fact that God is going to approach me. Maybe I need to think about the fact that it's not the ball in my court, but rather that God is who He is, and He is a God who is coming, and we need to be prepared for Him to come. And that is why the thoughts follow, that the people need to lift up their heads, lift up the gates, open the doors. God is coming. It's not about me approaching God. It's about God approaching me. When we think about Jesus coming into this world, He didn't come into this world to give people a choice as such. He came into this world because people were already condemned. We need to think about that a little bit more. And think about the fact that Christianity, serving God, is not truly about us coming to God. It's about the fact that God has come, and it's about the fact that this is God's world. What are we going to do with that fact? What are we going to do? Are we going to close up the gates and try to stand against Him? The earth is the Lord and the fullness thereof. There's no value or ability in trying to stand against Him. So maybe we should just open up the door, open up the gate. I do love how deity is portrayed in many lights in the Bible. You think about Jesus standing, knocking from the book of Revelation, and you say, well, yeah, God is approaching me. I do have a choice. I have a choice as to how I receive Him. And so let us choose to receive Him with open doors, open gates, and open arms. May God bless you today.